What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hemisphere, a podcast by Farai Gutora. I'm Farai Gutora. This is episode 2, and today we talk loyalty. In part 1. In part 2, we talk about something else. So, the game, you know the game, the rapper The Game, at The Game. This is how we do. We make a move and act a fool when we up in the club. That guy. He tweeted something on May 5th, 2021 that I'd like to share with you all. And it's a loyalty test, basically. At least that's what it appears to be from my observations. And The Game tweeted, want to test loyalty in your circle? Tell 5 mutual friends 5 different stories and tell each of them to keep it between y'all and see which story come back to you first. Okay. That was May 5th, 2021. It sounds very elaborate, you know. For me, personally, I couldn't do it. Do I have 5 mutual friends, for starters? For appetizers? Do I even have that? Do I satisfy that initial part of it? So, hold on. I'm going to count on my fingers if I... Okay, maybe I could scrounge together 5 mutual friends. So 5 mutual friends, that means everyone's friends with each other. And I tell this one a story, and I tell that one a story, and I tell this one a story, and all down the line. And whichever story that I tell to either of these 5 people, whichever story gets back to me first, then I'll know that that motherfucker that I told that specific story to is a snitching ass hoe. Personally, I feel like that would be confusing because I don't remember what I said 20 minutes ago, but I'm supposed to keep track of what story, what version of a story I told this one, and then what version of a story I told that one. What did I change up in the story to tell person number 3, and then person number 4 and 5? Man, I've forgotten. So even if the story comes back to me, I'm like, nigga, I don't remember talking about this. When was this? That's just me personally. I'm pretty sure for some people the technique might be very beneficial, and you might want to test that loyalty in your circle. Personally, the system isn't for me. The tweet by The Game, this was it's since been retweeted 803 times. It's been quoted 219 times on ye old Twitter, and people responded. Some liked the tactic, some didn't. Some posted their stencil work in the comments, and I'm like, oh, that's good. You know, you promo. You gotta fucking, you see some hot debate going on in the comment section or under the post of some celebrity. That's prime advertising space if ever. They like back in the day. Well, this is my experience, so I don't want to say back. Maybe you don't know, but like growing up, I remember seeing hawkers. That is like street hawkers, street vendors. But a vendor is stationary. A vendor stays at their, like, they have a booth and they sit there and that they're there. And a street hawker is mobile. Them motherfuckers moving. So growing up, I remember seeing street hawkers selling their stuff to motorists. Like, it could be anything from bottles of water to newspapers. They'd walk between traffic holding up their things, and, people would roll down their windows, get the thing, give the person their money, and, drive off with their whatever. And my dad would, buy morning newspapers from street hawkers sometimes, on our way, on our way to work, or I say on our way to, I was fucking 9. I wasn't going to work. I wasn't going to the fields or to an office. I was going to school. He'd drop us off, me and my brother off, and then, he'd go to work. But I don't know, even just doing this segment, hawker, is that okay to say? And that might seem like, and I'm half serious, like asking that, because these days, is that a slur? I literally Googled, is hawker a slur? Because you just don't know these days. And I'm not trying to be funny or anti-progress, because I sincerely wonder. I recently learned with great surprise that the word homeless is frowned upon. More so, I guess, maybe that's a lot to say. I was gonna say that the word homeless. Okay, the word homeless is apparently frowned upon. I learned this, and it is the opinion of some people that we should use words that are phrases that don't dehumanize. So the unhoused or whatever, I don't know the appropriate one, but that blew my mind, and I felt like I'm all for progress, but sometimes I think our discomfort lies elsewhere, and we make it about a thing that's irrelevant, so we can have a cause to take up. It feels more manageable to police somebody saying homeless than to actually solve homelessness. So I don't know. I had apprehensions about using the word hawker in this segment, but I have done it, and it is done, and that's part one.
Money worm.
And moving on, this is part two. Moving on from the game to talk about the game of football. The NFL 2021-2022 season has just come to an end. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey to football, how I came to watch the sport, and we going to do it. So, I was born in a country called Zimbabwe, and the NFL, at least when I was a youngin', was not a thing that people watched. It wasn't a global sport. I didn't know anything about football. The only football that I knew was football that you play with your feet, aka soccer. And so I grew up watching that. My family, my dad, my brothers, they supported Manchester United Football Club. Historic club. I couldn't give a shit about Manchester United though. And I support Arsenal Football Club. I grew up watching soccer, specifically the English Premier League, which is probably Britain's best thing that they've done. So well done for the English Premier League, motherfuckers. And Arsenal Football Club is owned by the Cronkies, who also own the LA Rams. So more on that later. And I don't really have a team that I support in the NFL. Backtracking, I moved to the United States. I start to watch football. I didn't understand it at first. I was like, what in fuck's name? It just looks like collisions. But it's such a repetitive sport that when you sit and watch, well, at least when I sat and watched it over and over, I started to understand what was happening, what the objective was, what they were doing. I don't know shit about coverages, 2-man deep, too deep safety, too high safety. I mean, shit. When they slow it down and show the replay and like do the circles on the screen, like to explain the previous play, like then I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they did there. But just with my own eyeballs in real time, I'm not. I'm just watching for the motherfuckers to get tackled or for the running back to run the ball or, that. So I started watching football. I started to understand it. And lo and behold, I actually enjoyed it. I was like, okay, this is fun. This is really cool. But I don't have a team I support because I don't have the history of going to games with my family and rooting for a team or being indoctrinated into a team. I don't have that. I also live in a city called South Bend, Indiana. Shout out to the home squad. And there isn't a NFL team. The closest team by distance is probably the Chicago Bears. And no, I am not bearing down for shit. Okay. There is also the Indianapolis Colts, who you think, I'm in Indiana, they're the Indianapolis Colts. But I don't know, I don't really have that connection with the Colts. I did fuck with the Colts heavily during the Manning years, but I was just getting into the sport, didn't know much of anything. And it was more just the proximity argument. Like, okay, well, this is the NFL team in the state that I live in, but there was never anything more than that. It's a shame how they missed out on the playoffs by being beaten by the Jags this year. Like, that was such a lifeless performance, such a sad way to go, like a tepid way to go out. Damn shame. Jonathan Taylor had a hell of a season. So next year, Colts. Next year. Carson Wentz. Okay, moving on. The personnel argument is also interesting to me because, like, sometimes I find that people tend to, or at least this is how I've found myself operating over the years. You support a team because of proximity. Well, like, I'm from South Bend. The college team here is Notre Dame. And so you just kind of fall into Notre Dame because Notre Dame's all around you. So you root, you cheer for all Notre Dame. So I get my heart broken several times a year. Notre Dame is amongst, but I've become distant to preserve my heart. So that's all I'll say about that. So there's the proximity argument, and then there's the personnel argument, where for one reason or another, you may find yourself rooting for a team because of the people or a person on that team, or disliking a team because of a person on that team. I have examples of teams that I hated just because they had a certain player on the roster. One famous example, I guess, and I find that a lot of people feel this way. Tom Brady. When he was in New England, oh my God, I hated the guy. Fuck that guy. And fuck the Patriots. They're winning every goddamn thing. And so I disliked them a lot. Everything, all the allegations about cheating, all the stories that came out, they were just heightened in my head because it was just like, fuck that team. So I don't know. I just couldn't root for the Patriots. I couldn't do it. And now I don't mind the Patriots that much. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's, they're out there, they play. And I actually like Brady now. Like fucking Tom Brady in Tampa. Love that guy. Look at him going. He's 44 years old doing 13-yard dashes versus, was it the Bills? That guy. But I couldn't before. And so it complicates things. I don't know who to root for. And we get to the crux of the matter. That's why I'm doing this podcast, this episode specifically. I just need some help. I need someone to tell me which team to cheer for. And then there's the Cowboys. I refuse to be seduced by the Cowboys. It's too much heartbreak. Okay, I refuse to do it personally. But as an outsider coming in with a neutral take, like, I haven't been brought up to support or hate a certain team because I came into this country and the NFL was in full swing when I got here. But as an outsider coming in with a neutral take, man, let me tell you, that Dallas Cowboy appeal is real. How about them Cowboys? You just want to say that shit. You just want to say it. And when they're good, they're really good. But when they suck, oh my God. Fucking awful. They take soul-crushing L's. And I can see why there's Cowboy hate. And that's exactly what being an Arsenal fan is like, by the way. Like, Arsenal Football Club. They do the same shit. it's okay. Arsenal Football Club and the Dallas Cowboys are one and the same. They are they they operate on the same schedule. They are very much alike. Okay, and I'll give you some of the similarities. Arsenal Football Club is a historic club in the English Premier League. They have done historic things that other clubs could never imagine. In the past, granted, but they've had some high highs. Same with the Dallas Cowboys. They've had iconic players throughout their history. So have the Dallas Cowboys. Great moments, heartbreaking L's. Both Arsenal, both the Dallas. And a lot of frustrating losses, like games where they cost themselves. It's like, this is on y'all. The game was there to be won. Y'all shot yourselves in the foot. Dallas does that time after time after time. Arsenal Football Club do that time after time after time. So I cannot put myself through that. I already have Arsenal Football Club putting me through the fucking ringer. You understand? I already get stressed enough by that sports team. I don't need the Dallas Cowboys taking me on a fucking roller coaster. So I put it all to you, my friends, my football fans out there. Make a case for your team. Which team should I support in the next football season? We have a couple months to that. Obviously, there's still the playoffs to go. This was about the regular season. So we'll see how the playoffs go, how the Super Bowl goes. But for now, I just need some help. Who should I cheer for? Who should I absolutely not cheer for?